Hi, everybody, and welcome again to today's webinar on the SHiFT Vehicle Retirement Program. ARA is very grateful that you've taken time to join us today, and we're in the next several moments, we're going to unpack the new member benefit that ARA is offering. It's a partnership with ARS, and it is a way for you as an ARA member to acquire inventory exclusively at a discounted rate. So I'm going to bring on our hosts, Jonathan Morrow and Joe Hearn, and they're going to explain everything, and as well as Emily Potchman.
Well, thanks, Vince. Thanks for bringing us on, and we're excited to be doing this. This is our second opportunity to do the SHiFT program and to unpack it for ARA members. It's the first time around, just to give you guys a little tidbit of what we're going to be talking about and the excitement that's already being felt through the industry. Before we were even finished with the first session, we had someone sign up for the program, as well as a couple people inquire about what it would be to be a certified recycler so they could get the biggest economic advantage to this program. But SHiFT, as Vince alluded to, is a vehicle retirement initiative brought to you by ARA and ARTI. And ARS, who's the platform and the backbone behind what we're doing, has worked tirelessly over the last year, I'd say, with the executive committee for ARA to bring you this program. So really quickly, I want to walk through what we're going to be doing in this slide before I turn it over to Joe and Emily to kind of unpack that. So what we're looking at here today, we're not going to take a lot of your time up, and we really want to reserve some time at the end for questions, is why are we doing this program, how it's going to benefit you, the recycler, how SHiFT works, how you're going to sign up for this, and how we're going to grow. So as I mentioned before, ARS and their team has been instrumental in so much of what has been happening in the background with ARA, and they've been dedicated members of the association and the industry for years. So without further ado, Joe Hearn is on the call and Emily's on the call, and on the webinar, and I want to just make sure that they have a chance to kind of say hi and start this presentation off.
Thanks, Jono. For those of you who don't know us, ARS has been a proud ARA member for almost 20 years. Proud of our association with the organization, thrilled to be working with the owners and members for many, many years on vehicle acquisition services and programs. And honestly, just terribly excited about this SHiFT program. It's one of the most exciting things we've done as a company. It's smart and brand new, and we just are thrilled after a long time of preparation with EC to be talking about it with you. Emily?
Sorry, I realized I was on mute. Hi, everyone. Emily Potchman. I've been in the industry for about a year and a half. I've been lucky to meet some of you at the ARA conference. It's really been enjoyable to work with the EC. I've been really impressed with everyone in this industry, your growth acumen, the willingness to try this new program. So super excited about what we're going to do, and we're here if you have any questions.
All right, let's get back to why we are doing this specifically. So the first thing we want to do is introduce you guys to SHiFT. SHiFT's website is live and has been for a matter of weeks now. This is our, as Jono mentioned, our second introduction to members. We are about to start banging the drum for the program pretty loudly. But if you go to the website, which is shiftfortomorrow.org, you'll see what we've done to create the narrative around the National Vehicle Retirement Initiative. We are absolutely regarding this as a social enterprise. The value to consumers, companies, to responsibly retire vehicles with strict environmental protocols from start to finish. This is an environmental play, and we'll talk about why and the thinking behind it. But hopefully, and what we think is one of the primary goals of the program, is for our recycling members to take their place in the community as environmental innovators and change makers. So you guys have heard about it. Let's talk about the impact, right? So what is it, right? Like, what is it? So this is a program that's certainly powered by ARS, as Jono mentioned earlier, but it really is delivered by the ARA members and their affiliates. It is a unit-by-unit approach to carbon reduction and avoidance. This is a topic that our members know quite a lot about, right? You're not passive or passengers in the conversation about what's happening with fuel alternatives and what is happening in manufacturing. But we're talking about the 190 million cars on US roadways. And what SHiFT will allow us to do is to count carbon units as they come out of operation. So much attention is going to the cars that have been recently manufactured or EV sales, and et cetera. But that is very little impact overall. We're far from the future that's been promised. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us. It's a network of environmentally focused ARA members, and it's a partnership. So there's a few things that we know going into it, things that the EC insisted on, things that our long experience working with the members allowed us to basically understand and hopefully anticipate. One is that whatever we were going to do couldn't unnecessarily complicate member operations, right? We can't put a program together that doesn't really understand the needs and objectives of your current business and also the opportunities for growth. But it absolutely does need to be standard in outcome. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what SHiFT requires as we kind of go forward and the standards that we put in place for the program. But we wanted to introduce this first to say that the needs and businesses of the members have been a priority for us throughout every conversation we've had.
Yeah, and I think it's important as we're talking through this and describing this to the members to understand that this is a targeted volume opportunity, right? So this National Vehicle Retirement Program is something that's being put together, and it has been put together, and it's been through hours and hours of work to really deliver real and measurable environmental results, right? So we know, first and foremost, that as recyclers, the one thing we do better than anybody else in this world is take apart cars. We'll never be the best salespeople or the best delivery drivers, but we will do the best at taking apart a car. And we can actually take it apart so environmentally friendly as a whole industry that it's almost shocking and we don't talk about it enough. See, and we're going to be able to, through this program, provide customers with a direct relationship to automotive recycling, right? So sometimes in our communities, we're not even known of our goodwill and what we do isn't even known. We don't do a good job of promoting it. What are other reasons why we're doing this? We're going to engage ARA members, and it's going to attract new members to this program. It's going to help ARA. It's going to help their environment. It's going to help the entire recycling community. Like I said before, amplifying our voices. Why? Because we are the environmental authority on taking apart cars. I know that we've talked about this by ourselves, but also the car is the biggest recycled product in the world. And sometimes when we do tours at our facility, we'll even mention that we'll recycle everything, even the air and the tires. If there's an opportunity, we're going to do it right. Through this program, one of the things we're going to be able to do is support and fund ARTI. That's going to be an important arm going forward for ARA. It's the Automotive Recyclers Training Institute. That's going to be where we can build funds to help train recyclers about how to do things right in our industry and in our businesses. And also, one of the reasons why we're doing this is it's going to support and supplement the car certification for ARA members. We know and understand this is an important thing going forward from the individual level of the yard level to the legislative level. There are people looking at us to help make the right decisions on how to place cars for recycling, like for the correct recycling of the vehicles. And with this program we're instituting with SHiFT, it's going to support and supplement everything we've been working towards for the last couple of years with car certification. So that's a little bit of why we're doing this. It's a lot of stuff that we're doing this, why we're doing this, but it's all going to make sense a little bit. So just hold on tight.
And one last thing on the why, right? This engagement of this environmental consumer. We know this is a rapidly growing demographic of Americans, and it's not important if their actually buying behavior actually really follows through. Some people are certainly going to say that they're going to make environmental decisions, but they're going to make financial decisions. But as this group is becoming more and more known to us by their behaviors, by their appetites and stuff like that, we want to give them an easy button to make an environmentally responsible choice with their vehicle at the end of the life, at the end of its useful life. And we expect that will create new and new relationships with the recycling stream for these consumers. We've seen it. For those of you who know ARS, right, one of the things we're very proud of is the car donation services that we have been providing for almost 20 years. And we're having an amazing year on the car donation side. But it really only scratches the surface in the number of vehicles that are out there and available for donation. For years, our consumers have been identifying one of their primary motivations is for in recycling and environmental. And this is old data. We think that number has actually grown. So we want to give them an option here for responsible retirement that doesn't exist. Not only them, but fleets, government operations, consumers. We want to be way in front of the conversation of how do we get to an EV future? How do we responsibly recycle? And then we're going to get into SHiFT in use, right? And this is something that I'm very interested in telling you guys about. Meet Mini, okay? For the last couple of weeks, with the cooperation and support of Scott Robertson, former ARA president, we've been out and filming basically an anthem piece, a video piece about the first SHiFT unit. And this is Mini. These are Rupert and Rebecca, the owner of Minis. And we tell an actual story to this environmental consumer about why this program works and why this program's needed. They, at that time, were looking to make a transportation change. After being super commuters back and forth from New York City and New England for many, many years, they were changing their transportation appetites. SHiFT, when introduced to them, was a perfect fit for what they were looking for. So you'll see sometime, and we're excited to show you sometime in the next 5 or 6 weeks, some video pieces done by a young and interesting director on this topic. So we're psyched.
Yeah, no, I think it was interesting. I remember when this all started coming about, like the story of Rupert and Rebecca and the Mini was enticing. It was intriguing that this was the first placement of a car into the SHiFT program. And I believe just through the conditioning of how we are being conditioned, that's going to be a common trend. And like Joe, you had mentioned, it's not just it is the consumers that exist in our own communities. It's also potentially the state and federal levels as well. When they're looking to retire their rides, more and more states are adopting this EV or shifting to an EV or a hybrid model for their federal and state vehicles. and they're going to have to do something with their ICE configuration. So through this program, how's it going to benefit me as a recycler? How's it going to benefit all of us that are listening that are recyclers and kind of beginning to lean in? Well, one is volume. I don't think you can ever look at a time in our history where we've said we have too many cars to recycle. This is going to give you another opportunity to take a hold of the car and environmentally take care of it correctly. And when I say that, that's important because why? Because once again, pushing into this, we are the environmental authority on how you handle a car correctly. I know we compete a lot for cars across many platforms, but at the end of the day, no one takes a vehicle apart as well as we do and handles the fluids and takes care of the environment the way we do. And we need to be the authority there and stand in our place and hold the flag of what we do. You know, it's also important as we continue to move into this e-commerce world, the digital authority in our website traffic, this is going to drive things to our website. And we're going to talk about how that's going to be, how the SHiFT portal will be pushed onto your website so you can draw traffic there. It's going to connect us with our community. We talked about that. That's really important, regardless if you're self-service or full service, just having that statement to your community of who you are and how you service them. I mean, I think of this sometimes when I look at how this benefits you from the community's perspective. If we didn't exist, where would all those cars go? Right? There are these things that people don't think about until you have to think about it. You know, we're going to connect to other members. And at the end of the day, this makes sense to the recycler when you start realizing how much money you can make with this program, which we're going to talk through and explain. This makes sense economically for the recycling community to jump on this bandwagon and understand how this works. And the opportunities are going to be endless with certain people if they lean in.
Yeah, and this benefit statement isn't a one-time offer, right? The volume is going to be recurring volume, but these benefits are going to grow over time. We've got a nice roadmap. This conversation is about introduction and servicing, but the conversations that we've got to come about how this program can actually really work for you, how we can make these connections, how we can increase digital authority. There's a terrific roadmap that we're really excited to share with you as well. So let's talk about delivery, right? Let's talk about what it looks like, what it's going to require, what's the expectation of the consumer, what's the expectation of us in the operation, and how do we mutually, communally, and together make this thing grow, right? What can the members do? Okay, here's how SHiFT's going to work, right? So you've seen the website. We've got a nice plan for broadcast. We will drive traffic there. But when the SHiFT opportunity comes through the website or through the telephone line, but when somebody makes that environmental choice, then we activate a SHiFT process. So that SHiFT opportunity gets pushed to the members via a tiered system. We're going to talk about those tiers in a minute because those tiers are very important. And those tiers have different rates and strike prices for the members. So we want to talk about that. We also have made no promises or no requirements for participation that every vehicle presented to you has to be immediately accepted. You can approve it or you can pass on it. But if you approve it, you're issued a pickup order and we generate a SHiFT affidavit, right? That SHiFT affidavit will be explained in greater detail in a second. If you pass on it, it's passed on to the next tier, right? But if you accept it, you're going to set a pickup appointment. You're going to pick up that asset. You're going to log it into our system. For those of you who've been using ARS's MBID system for a period of 10 years, this is all very familiar to you. You'll be purchasing it at a prearranged price that you'll see on the screen. You'll be invoiced for that amount. You'll pay for that. Then we will pay Artie the proceeds of this transaction. Then we close it up nice and tight. We have a strong paper trail. You will execute the affidavit that gets added to the e-file. And we are, again, providing a service that is standard in outcome, whether or not you are in any rural, metro, any community, standard in service, standard in outcome. So how's that going to work? For those of you familiar with MBID, you're going to get pushed to purchase opportunity. Now, the communication options are entirely up to you. And when you register for the program, we fine-tune your communication points. If you have certain people in your organization that these need to go to, that's fine. That's easy. If you want to see everything, we can manage any variable of your own need. But the car gets broadcast to you as a SHiFT unit, and it represents the purchase opportunity at the tier value. So this one would be represented at a $325 value. And we'll explain how the values are established and how the tiers are established. But it's as easy as just accepting offer on the page and moving on. So how do we generate it? Well, let's use Mini as an example. All right. This is a 2010 Mini Cooper. And if we use the acquisition number traditionally, if you're buying this vehicle traditionally through the auction or whatever, this is what it might look like, right? That's the pro quote number, which is a low estimate, as we all know, the buyer fee, the pullout fee, et cetera, right? Acquisition price here. But we're offering that vehicle at $193 to the tier 1 member. And we're going to show you how we come up with that number. We've set up the program to be based on the curb weight of the vehicle, right? And the prevailing crushed auto body rate, okay? So what we're doing is a simple calculation based on the curb weight of the vehicle, the prevailing rate, and then the tier offered price. So at that tier 1 opportunity, the full value of the vehicle, $386.28, offered to you for purchase of $193.14.
I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. And I know I say it's crazy because I know how much cars can cost, but you're essentially having an opportunity to buy this car, and this car is at that price because of the curb weight. Is exactly what Joe's kind of unpacking here. Is it's the curb weight times the rate per ton, and so that's going to change based on what the market's doing, and so it's not going to be a fixed cost that doesn't move. But when you look at 193.14, and I talked about how is this going to benefit you? Where does the recycler, where does the recycler benefit? So if we look at that and then look at the buyer fee, okay, you're almost getting the vehicle for what the buyer fee would be at the sale. Nothing wrong with sale cars. I use those all the time, but the opportunities exist. And, Joe talked about this, and I just want to push back into the environmental and how we're all kind of beginning to be rewired, if you will, to kind of view the environment and our environmental impact a little differently. Each of us are making decisions subconsciously that are environmentally conscious. And so when you start seeing that and understanding this is just part of how we're as a culture moving in the right direction, you're going to see these people who go, you know what, I want to place my car in the right hands to be environmentally conscious. We're going to be there to take care of it that way, but also benefit economically from this. So I see this slide, and every time I see it, I get excited about the opportunities that will exist for the price I want to pay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we've developed it to be aggressive, but also to be able to modify with the market, as Jono was mentioning. So what do those tiers look like, right? We just introduced that 50-50 rate. That's the tier 1 member. So who are the tier 1 members? Well, tier 1 members can compose primarily of car members, right? Certified car members are the tier 1 member, with one significant and hugely important exception. If you add the SHiFT program to your website and the click comes through a website referral, which we put tracking code in to be able to tell, then that vehicle is offered to you at that tier 1 rate, whether or not you're a car member or not. It is also offered to you exclusively at that tier 1 rate. So you get that time and the opportunity to approve or reject that because it's from your website, from your messaging, from your community, from the effort of that you do locally. And we want to make sure that is protected, that is like maintained. Some of you understand how we do that because we do some of that in our car purchasing side already, but this is sacrosanct in the program. If it comes from you, it is yours first. There's not anyone else's attention or anything like that. So tier 2, if the car is not accepted by tier 1, if there is not a car member in the community, if the car member is outside of the drivable distance, it's offered to that SHiFT compliant ARA member. Now, compliance is based on the requirements of the program, which we're about to introduce to you, but that again is offered at 60% of the national scrap average, which again is not a huge penalty. Like that's still a tremendous opportunity there. Okay. And then we go down from there. SHiFT level 3 would be if no ARA member is in that community, doesn't want to accept the vehicle, then we have to look outside, right? And that's how we put together a real national network. Our objective and interest is to deliver the SHiFT program through tier 1 and tier 2, through tier 1 and tier 2 wherever possible. But at tier 3, it's 75% of the national scrap average. In tier 4, if we cannot find someone to comply with the requirements of the program, it is out of the SHiFT program. And no coverage, not SHiFT compliant, we can still offer them the opportunity to donate to a worthwhile organization, but we need the program authority to be maintained here top to bottom. So that's what the tiers look like. And happy to explain that in more detail as we go forward. All right, so without further ado, what are these requirements? Have we set something up? Is it time to pull the rug out? Well, no. This is, again, the work the communal work of the executive committee and a basic understanding of the needs of this consumer and what we can deliver and how we can deliver it. Unfortunately, ARS has been delivering similar services. We're uniquely kind of positioned to do this. Well, the requirements, some of them are obvious, right? Timely and courteous pickup. This is going to be a standard of ours. We want to make sure that we're allowing these consumers to feel the warm glow of the service, right? Absolutely, you want to be flagging these as SHiFT units because there is one significant difference in processing. We're expecting standard environmental processing in your location. You guys have been doing this environmental processing for years with the fluids and the materials and everything. We know that that's being done by our membership, and we know that you cooperate with that. All the parts and assemblies can be removed and retrognized. Here's the kicker. The whole engine may not be resold as a whole engine. This is how we count backwards from the internal combustion unit engine and the carbon units. We have to be able to guarantee the consumers that these will not be sold domestically or internationally as a whole engine. And I know to some extent, for some of you, the whole engine sales are the primary economic opportunity. But we're not telling you can't sell assemblies or parts off the engine. We're just saying that the whole engine may not be resold as a whole unit because that is the carbon count that we need. And you're going to have to execute an affidavit that we put through the executive committee confirming the same. That's it.
And I think it's important that we talk about the fact that, years ago, you might remember we had the Cash for Clunkers program that was a federally mandated, federal opportunity for people. And the industry wasn't prepared. And I know from an ARA standpoint, we sent people to Capitol Hill to petition to just be able to keep the vehicles a little longer, sell some parts off the vehicles. But I think we'd be sticking our head in the sand if we never thought that this was going to happen again, right? With the push for hybrids or EVs, there's going to be something that's going to be instituted at some level, a retire your ride program. And so would I wish that the entire car could be sold in pieces? Sure. But do I understand what we're doing here and the intent of the program? And the intent of the program is that we can still sell parts off of these engines. We're just not going to sell an engine assembly. Now, the opportunity is still huge, but just think if we can write the narrative and then we can present it in the event that a locality or a federal entity wants to create another massive program, we already have the framework to build it. So they just have to say, we want to use your SHiFT program. I mean, so those are the things when you look at what you may be frustrated about not selling the engine, look at the opportunities past that point. And they're huge, right? I just think it's something that we don't need to get hung up on the one thing we can't do that we want to do and look at all the opportunities that exist within the confines of what we can do.
Yeah, agreed. I think this is one of the exciting areas for us. I mean, in my home state, the laws were written several years ago already to incentivize the purchase of fuel alternative vehicles and financially incentivize. So there's really no way to do that without some similar kind of program to the removal of the ICE vehicle. This puts us in the A position. We weren't consulted next time. We'll get if this program properly grown, nurtured, and delivered will put us in the conversation, and that's our objective. All right, so we certainly have questions, but this is how you sign up. So for the car members, we've already identified you. We've already kind of put you in the system. You're already auto-enrolled in the program. However, your communication relationship with ARS isn't probably set up. So we are going to go through and do a manual reach for all of you to make sure that we get you set up. Enrollment in the program does not require participation. As I said, you can choose not to participate at all, or you can just peruse and then pass. We don't know that every car will be that 2010 Mini Cooper, but we will certainly be looking at some pretty terrific opportunities. For the rank and file ARA members, you absolutely have to be set up as an ARS buyer. Many of you are already that. We've been selling to thousands of you over the years, right? If you're not, you're going to be expected to execute the standard ARS purchasing and tow agreements to make sure we have a nice, tight relationship set up that we can promote and do that. Again, this is going to be done with ARS reaching out to members to join, generally through some emails, and also specifically when cars are available in your community. If you're interested in getting the process started, and as Jono said, it's already happened for a bunch of members, you can reach out to us. You can contact success@arscars.com, or you'll have links to mine and Emily's contact information later.
And just so you guys know too, just if you scroll back just for a second, Joe, people often ask, what's the benefit of being a car member, right? So what benefit do I get for the extra processes and procedures I put in place that ARA's put out there to be a member? And once again, this opportunity you get to save on these car purchases, 50% of the scrap value, right? That's a savings. And over the course of time, when this program takes off, you'll start to recoup real dollars on every unit you get to purchase. Second thing I just wanted to point out too is the dollars that you have to pay for these vehicles, some of that money is going to go back to the Automotive Recyclers Training Institute, or ARTI, to better outfit the recyclers with training modules on how to do things. So this entire process that ARS has set up with ARA is just this great organism that's just going to keep feeding our members opportunities and the association funding to continue to build programs that help everyone. So once again, I'm excited, and we all need to be just leaning into this program really with excitement. Sorry, Joe.
Thanks for that, John. Thanks for that. I love your enthusiasm for this program. So, all right. So this is how we grow, and this has been a huge part of our conversation over the last 12 months, specifically as well, right? There's a path forward. We can use a blueprint even on the donation side, and a marketing communications plan that we developed, which is actually winning some of the knowledge space about recycling and environmental auto recycling, right? But the way to really succeed and the most successful outcome for us is when we join all of our websites together at soliciting this type of attention. We're creating an entire narrative about a term that doesn't even really exist in the Google sphere right now. Connecting that environmentally focused servicing of auto recycling isn't really a concept that exists. So we've got some work to do, right? But we think that SHiFT can do that. It can be the connective tissue. It can strengthen our members standing in their community, right? And we're very excited about it. We've got a plan for growing it. We've got tools that we're going to continually introduce to you guys and ways to grow it. This is the last of our intro webinars. We're going to have some marketing webinars that are going to come up that is going to help you hopefully identify and talk to these types of consumers as they continually get introduced to us, and take that opportunity to tell them about the environmental benefits of used parts, right? This is not about winning hearts and minds. This is actually about units and volume and economic opportunity. But there are a lot of people that don't understand, as John mentioned previously, the pure recycling benefits of keeping your cars on the road and repaired through using used parts. So let's be there in that conversation. Let's introduce them to the good work that our community's been doing. So,
yeah.
All right. Really, Jono, that's it, right? Yeah,
I mean, we've come to the end, guys. We tried to get through it, and we want to hear any questions you have. I mean, Joe and myself, Vince and Emily could all answer questions if necessary. And I know there's people out there that may be apprehensive and want to call us after the fact and contact us via email, but you can ask it now, because it's like in school. You may have a question, and you think you're the only person that has a question, and there's like more people that obviously have the same question. So ask away if you have.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks you guys. Great job. And at this point, we don't currently have any questions, but if you wanted to, I'm trying to think of some of the questions we had on the last time, and maybe we can jumpstart the questions. And if not, we can end this webinar and take questions through email like you suggested, or any other means. But can any of you guys remember some of the questions that we had, or maybe just something that you?
Yeah, I think we were able to. I think some of the questions were really addressed in our second go around. So you guys are benefiting from the questions of the first trip, right? There were absolutely questions about the tiers, right? And I think we double underlined it here, and we talked about for the self-generation of these opportunities. And there were some people that really wanted that further explained. We had some questions, I think, more about the requirements, right? And the engine retirement and things like that. But I think we probably did a better job here too. We tried to keep the program clean and straightforward and not add complexity to your operations, and make it understandable by the casual user and the fleets and enterprises we're going to start presenting it to. So, that's the next step for us. is to really kind of put this out in people's attention through a marketing communications plan that we have. We have press releases. We have, it's about to go out in the ARA magazine, right, Vince?
Next
that's correct.
There's going to be articles about it in the magazines. Yep, absolutely.
So you'll see it on socials of our organizations. You'll see, I can't wait for you to see the video. I can't wait to see the video.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's going to be really cool. So,
well, there was one thing that was a good question, I thought, and it was a follow-up question I had one-on-one, and it was, so we can't sell the whole motor. And Joe, we talked about in this presentation about the fact you can sell parts of the motor. And so one of the questions came up, so would a long block be considered the whole motor? And that was I got that question 2 times after the presentation as well. Yeah. And I think we said the whole motor is what's being required by the SHiFT program to not be resold. Just to stress that it's the entire, the motor as it sits in the car as a motor cannot be sold as a motor outside of the car. So parts, components, short block seems to be within the
I think if we're looking at the spirit of the program, right, is that the program is designed to benefit recyclers by providing them exclusive access to inventory at a steeply reduced rate. The caveat is we don't want that motor producing any more carbon on the road. That's the promise that we're making to the donor. In that regard, I don't think short block. I don't think that it can go back out on the road.
Once again, that was a question we had, and I was just posting it again today because I thought it was something.
Good question. And let's in all of these conversations, let's work together, right? Come to us with questions. Come to us with challenges. If there are things that you don't believe have been considered by this, or if there are people that you think would be interested in this, or if your own experience on this kind of conversation gives you background and information, come on, tell us. Let us know, right? Let us know.
So I do have a couple questions. Both of them are from Doug Reiner. So I'll let you guys read those out loud and answer them.
All right, I'll read them, right? So the link to our website, does it include SHiFT donation and sell? Okay, here's a very important question. And Doug, this is something that we missed that was a question from the first. One consideration absolutely has to be that this cannot cannibalize your purchasing programs already, right? That's not the objective of this program. This needs to be a tool that lives alongside with those objectives. And we think it does. Actually, purchasing through the SHiFT program should be an economic opportunity better than just trying to negotiate a selling price from somebody who might be looking around and making you compete with, national platforms or people that you actually purchase from. So we're trying to install that and to your point, this should live along donate, sell, or SHiFT. Okay. And what we've developed, the application that we developed, and we're going to be talking about that in marketing, is a plugin for your website that allows you to use your form or our form or encourage donors to donate to any one of the charities that ARS works with, including ARTI or a charity that you love locally. And as that third alternative, make an environmental decision. Okay. And done correctly, this, and I believe it can be done correctly, this raises the digital authority top to bottom, right? That gives the customer choices, and we know customers love to pretend they love choices. What they like is the easy button, right? So you don't want to complicate the choice button with too many choices, but at the same time, there's what is it? There's every consumer wants to be heard, right? And we're trying to hear consumers by providing options.
So Joe, just to be super clear, you can have your own sell your car button on the right side of your website potentially, and you could have the SHiFT logo on the left side of your website, completely independent. Both options would give that recycler the first right of refusal on those cars.
Yeah, and so ARS is powering for many members' websites already the ability to negotiate a sale price, right? So if that could be your own button, it could be the button we deliver, it could be all of our services. And I think Doug's identifying that we are in the place offering kind of a binary option right now, which is sell and donate. Now it goes 3 steps, like 3 opportunities. So yeah. Okay. So looking forward to having more conversations about that. Please tell us if our marketing fits or aligns, and be territorial about it. Give us challenges. Say this is what I care about, right? I've made a lot of investments on this side of the house. I want to make sure that this doesn't add anything but value. So looking forward to having those conversations. All right.
So Doug had another question.
Right. Okay. So is the vehicle sold as parts only salvage? So that is also something that we considered a great deal, but like, honestly, there's so much difference in the states and the requirements and the timing. We are not going to pursue a parts only salvage title in the states. We're actually not even branding the title over to you as parts only salvage. We're relying on you to not sell the vehicle whole with the engine in it, right? Which is its own version of parts only, right? There are no stipulations above not selling the vehicle whole, right? If you look at a vehicle that's a clean title vehicle that gets into your, and you have options on that vehicle, you cannot sell that vehicle with the engine in it, right? That should be the consideration. You won't be receiving parts only and salvage titles from day one. I do believe that you will receive vehicles that have title stipulations, and that'll mostly be from commercial enterprise insurance companies and others that adopt the program. At that point, we're going to have some hurdles to clear, but for the consumer program, we decided not to install that.
Joe, is that going to be, when you sign the affidavit for that car through the SHiFT program, is that'll kind of encompass all of that, where you're saying you're not going to resell?
But it encompasses it, but it doesn't complicate it. Okay. We try to keep it an affidavit that's easy to sign, that gets sent to the right person who has authority in your organization to say, this vehicle's engine was retired. Click, right? It's an electronic affidavit, at the end of the process, and honestly, the cooperation and the reliance on our membership should be a stronger tool than a state title process, which can drag out for a long time. So, like I said, no guarantees going forward. We want to catch the attention of enterprise sellers that are going to require it, and you may actually be processing a parts only vehicle with a title from out of state further to this program in the future. But we'll take that as it goes, and those things will be displayed to you. Not that that's a complexity to you, but they'll be displayed to you in the MBID system when the vehicle's offered to you, the title condition.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys very much. I think, thank you, Doug, for chiming in, asking a couple of really good questions. And I believe that's it. We're gonna sign off. We want to thank everybody for watching. We've had both of these webinars have been very well attended and viewed. And so again, all our contact information is right up there on the screen. You can reach out to us, any of us, if you have any questions about the program. We're really looking forward to this ramping up and all of the marketing tools that have been developed. And also, I know that Joe and his team are very anxious to work with all of you to get these get your websites set up with the widgets that they've developed and get everything rolling. So I want to thank you guys again. Thank you, Jonathan, Joe, and Emily, for spending your time with us today. And unless anybody has anything else to say, we're done. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great 4th.
Yes.
Yep.